Okay, for this portion of the painting, we're going to go in pretty much with a small rigger for most of it, and we are going to add a little contrast. You'll notice my painting is not as accurate as the photograph. It's painting. It's not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm just starting out with this painting stuff. So, anyway, I want to focus mainly on the grill and the little fog light thing today. And I'm pretty much going to use the palette knife and the brush to do my reflection of the ground, and the like the driveway and all that stuff is going to be used with the palette knife and a little bit with the brush. I'm going in with a bunch of browns that are supposed to reflect off the ground, and later on I'll paint the ground in. And you can see, and also the ground probably typically is going to be a much darker, well, maybe not always, but it seems like the ground should be darker than the reflection. The reflection should be kind of like a shinier version or a darker version. It should be kind of contrasty on the metal parts. Kind of like I did with these little edges here. I'm going in with the little palette knife. I probably should have used the rigger for this, and I'm just trying to add in some little really bright highlights with the shininess. And my shininess looks a little bit like a comic book, but that's kind of my style. It's kind of cartoonish. And this past month or so, I've tried to stay away from using black whenever I can, and using other dark colors to create contrast. Never going fully white or fully black, but it's tough not to sometimes, because I'm really used to using black. I just don't want to use it. I want to use it sparingly. I don't want to just make thick black lines around everything. I feel like some painting teacher at some point told me about that, and I've somehow forgotten it. That you shouldn't just use thick blacks everywhere. You should just use it to kind of get the idea of your outline, and not really outline it all the way like a comic book. So here I am, pretty much just shading in the inside of the grill where there's going to be a shadow, and then there's that little part around the edge that they attach to. So that's got to be a little lighter, and then the dark hat stuff has to be kind of showing through. And I don't mind that it's not all black. It could be kind of faded, a little bit blackish. Yeah, and the slats don't have to be. They don't have to be. They don't have to be that symmetrical. Because this is an old car. We can tell by the grill and everything it's an old car, so that means it's been around for a while. In the original drawing, you can see where the stress cracks around the bumper and the lower valance have kind of been welded together, and now they're kind of cracking since the last paint job, and there's some other little flecks of paint that have come off of it or whatever. So we know it's an older car. We know it's been around for a while, so it's not going to be perfect. And here I am just trying to go in. This is with the perfect round, which is kind of a bigger brush. I guess I got tired of using a small brush to do these details, so I was using a bigger brush to cover a bigger area faster. I kind of like the way that is. I hope I leave it. So yeah, just going in with that Prussian blue, I believe, is what I used on these. I used that around the other parts of the headlight and the grill, but yeah, this is Prussian blue, and I use more of it than is used, than probably should be used, but it also kind of makes the grill itself kind of stand out, which is kind of what I wanted. The grill to me is the main thing that you first see and how shiny it is. The part around it and that little bar that holds the light and all that stuff add to it, but they're all kind of like darker values. They kind of blend in at first. You kind of have to look for them, whereas that shiny grill is like the first thing you see. So really it's kind of a situation where you want to go in again with a little bit of darker. This is the Prussian blue. I'll have to go back and see what kind of blue that is. But anyway, I'm going over with the lighter blue first, and then I'm going in with the darker Prussian blue on top of that. And then at some point I'll probably add in some grays. This is kind of a grayish color itself. And yeah, just going in with some little highlights here and there. Again, I kind of don't want, this is with the fan brush, I don't really want to do, when it comes to the gray stuff, I kind of want it to look like there's light and dark parts throughout the thing, the little piece of grill, because each one of those little pieces have been hit by insects and maybe a small bird or some other little limb or a piece from another car or the wind or something. You know, it's going to affect each one of those grills a little bit differently. So that's why they're not all uniform and perfect. So really, there's these little microscopic sort of little indentions or little areas where the thing is not perfectly straight. So that's kind of what I'm doing here with the grays and the blues, is to really, is that manganese? I think it's manganese is the color here. It doesn't have to be uniform either, because the shadows are going to hit the pieces of grill differently, not just how it's arranged, you know, top to bottom, but kind of how those little dents and things are. So really you're just trying to get some lights and some darks to kind of make it look kind of shiny here and there instead of just white. You got to add some of those little shadows there, which may have not even really existed in the first, the photograph I'm going by. But I'll add in a little shading there and here and there, so it looks like the grill is kind of casting a shadow on the other little piece underneath it. And that's mainly with the fan brush. And again, I'm going in with kind of darker blues. This is a Prussian blue, I believe. Kind of these grayish, purplish looking blues. And to me, because I've colored every one of these, I feel like now my grill in general is starting to separate itself from the dark background that we had before. You know, it's got that separation. Looks a little bit probably not quite finished right now as far as the individual slats, so I'll have to go over here in a minute with a smaller brush probably. Yep.